Recollect.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I found myself having to put up a lot of boundaries this week. Did any of you guys find yourself feeling
Well,
annoyed and having to put up
Eric,
boundaries and saying no to people?
uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
if you did, I just want to tell you that you're on the right track. What happens when we're doing this work is when we're committed to it, it seems like everything in the world wants to come in and take it away from us. And
Yeah.
we as artists have to be very, very protective, as especially as actors. We have to be very protective of our time and our talent because um, in in the short sentence, crazy makers are people who are very destructive to our creative dreams, and they don't have to be just absolute crazy people. They can be just people who take our time in little ways, people who derail us on smaller ways. And you find that the more annoyed you get, that's just sort of your Geiger counter inside going, stick to your dreams. At least for me, it's a Geiger counter saying, stick to your dreams, stay quiet, and keep focused, because people can sense it. People can sense when you're moving up, and they can psychically sense it, and they start coming in, and that's when you have to put the no up, that's hard. How many people here find it very hard to say no to people? Raise your hand.
Worse. Sort of, especially if it's something that you really want and you just can't do it. Yeah, I had a producer contacted me the first part of the week, and this was right after Thanksgiving, and that I ate 4 days in a row into a coma. I was just so sick by that time that I couldn't even move. Anyway, I worked with him before, and he wanted to revise a couple of lines for me in his video, and I really would have done it, but that meant I had to be out, and I'm just nervous about COVID. And also, I did not feel well, and I told him, and I do believe he understood. So that's the good part.
Well, that's that is, you know protecting ourselves as artists and as actors especially, can be very, very challenging,
Yep.
and especially saying no to things that are not part of what we want to do. And
Yeah.
so if you found yourself like I did, being really annoyed and kind of angry at people, just know that you're not going crazy. You're just being sort of tested by the universe. And I'm going to just tell you guys real shortly how I used to handle the test when it came to me. Is I used to handle it with confrontation and saying and say, well, and justifying. And what I've learned to do is to pull back. And I told Elena this. There's a tool in the workbook that I have. It's called Suddenly Become Too Busy. And this
Mhm.
might be unfriendly to a lot of people, but I have learned to say no to people by not engaging them, by and this is so impolite, ghosting them,
Okay.
if need be, um, or saying, oh no, I'm sorry, give me 24 hours. One of the things that I've learned to do is say, give me 24 hours to think on this. Because I usually jump right into things because I'm so open hearted and generous. I will say, yes, yes, yes. And then I won't realize the ramifications of what will happen when I have to actually do that task, show up for that thing. Um, and I'm not talking about the things that are important to our careers. I'm talking about things that are like people wanting us to do stuff, things that are sidetracking to us. So I've learned to go, just give me 24 hours. And in 24 hours, I can digest it and look at my calendar and look at the time frames and see if I can really be available for it, as opposed to showing up for it and coming at it frazzled, crazy, with little energy, because I've exhausted myself on the things that I'm really trying to do. I hope that makes sense to everybody, because in my chat on Facebook, it sounded like I was kind of being a negative Nelly, but that wasn't the case. I really did have a real dangerous, absolute crazy maker hit me up. And I found myself wanting to go back to it and engage that person. And I said, no, this is the one that you're not gonna engage. You're gonna just ghost this person because you don't want to be there. You didn't like it, how it panned out, and you're not gonna like it if you try to go back. So that's just a little lesson that I've learned in the course. Yes, Dan, unmute yourself.
Hello. I've also learned that I can be my own crazy maker, in the sense that I take I take on more than I can do, and they're all wonderful and they're all amazing projects. But it's a way of hiding from my acting career, because they're all amazing things I'm doing, but it means I don't ever, it's like, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do that project, that community cause, and I'll take on that service commitment, and I'll do this and that, and they're all amazing and I get all kinds of applause, but I don't leave myself enough time to pursue my creativity and my art. It's a way of hiding. And
How many of you guys do that?
I do that.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of "what are you up to" texts today, this week. And then I had to call and say, well, this is what I'm up to and I can't meet you. And it was just, kind of crazy. And then even last night I had, people just contacting me in ways that I didn't know they were able to, like sending me phone chats from Instagram, and the same person sending it on Snapchat, like, what is up with you? Like, stop it. And all night long. It's just.
And anytime that we're engaged with any energy that's outside of our acting, has the potential to throw us off.
Yeah, and these are actors too.
Other actors, yeah. How many people get bombarded by other actors?
Yeah.
I mean, I get proposed to all the time on LinkedIn to people who want to marry me and come into the country to pursue their acting career.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel unloved. That never happens to me.
Lorenzo, everybody wants to marry you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get some more light into this section because someone's using my other spot, so you might not see my eyes tonight.
Tree's using all your light.
But I do think there's this issue of like cooking a Thanksgiving dinner. Like, not everything can be on the front burner at the same time, and I've tried doing everything on the front burner, and then nothing ever gets fully cooked. And it's not even that other people are being crazy around me. It's that it's my issue of needing to focus onto something until it's complete, and then moving on to the next. Other people may not have this issue. Some people, but because I do think we do need to multitask in the world. But it's like knowing what I can take on and knowing what I can't add onto the menu is as an actor, as an artist, is a big thing for me.
Not to cut you off, Dan, but how many people here, just raise your hand, how many people take on more projects than they can possibly handle in a week and find themselves burned out? Good. So look, so Dan, you're absolutely right. It absolutely is about putting our acting on the front burner, and it's also about not burning ourselves out too, because if all you do is acting, you go crazy. So you have to have a balance. But I have seen Dan, many people who take on so many outside obligations that by the time they get to their acting, it's like they don't put hardly any energy into it. It's not only not part-time, it's like 1% time. And so if you find yourself in that position, just find ways to cut that down and amp up your acting. And the more you amp up your acting, you will become less and less available to those other things, worthy cause or not. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and sometimes the decisions are sometimes very difficult. Sometimes it's, am I going to pursue my career, or am I going to go do this thing? And those decisions, those are the things that our career hangs on, and also, to be an actor, you don't also have to give away your entire life to be an actor either. You don't have to give away your kids or get a divorce or move to Los Angeles or any of that stuff. You don't have to give up your whole life to pursue your acting. You can do it part-time. You can do it. Sarah, nice cat in your face. So you don't have to give up your whole life, as some acting coaches say, to pursue your acting. You really don't. You can do it part-time. You can do it for fun. You can, if you're a trust fund baby and you don't have no bills to pay, then you can pursue your dream for all it's worth. But if you have to keep a roof over your head and have children, that's priority, I think, over being a crazy actor. So does anyone want to chime in on that?
May I say something?
Yes.
What is saddening, it's those people who have so many connections in the movie industry, and they're like, well, if you are really passionate about acting, then you should be risking it all, but they have risked nothing. So it's kind of,
I agree. That's what I would call a trust fund baby. Someone who's got in, and and they're, they can say to you, George Clooney can say to someone, if you don't fully commit to acting, then you don't have a reason to be in the business. Well, George Clooney had many connections before he ever became an actor. Okay, so that's not
his aunt, Rosemary Clooney. Yeah.
I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio's mother was a stage mother. She used to take him by the hand, and I'm not dismissing his talent, but she would take him to auditions. So it all depends where you are in the acting game, and everyone is where they are, and that's what you have to start with. And it's real easy to go, well, that person had connections, or I'm not in this, or it's easy to do that, but it's harder to stay focused on your own track. It's very difficult to stay in your own lane in acting. And that's what I try to tell actors is work on your own path. You can look at other actors and let them guide you, or be jealous of them, or whatever it is, but make sure that they're forging you ahead, that energy is forging you ahead, as opposed to throwing you off in the bushes or sidetracking you. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. For me, at least, I try to do something at least an hour every day for my career. And if you set it like that, then, it's like saying you're going to work out, no matter what time it is. If it's 2:00 in the morning, I got to do my hour. And then you just don't worry about it. And those people who have connections, if they're not good, they're going to get weeded out pretty fast, and then you'll meet those people who were like living in their car, and they'll just be around forever. I've met those people. I met Stallone. He was such a nice guy. He still remembered being broke, And so I wouldn't worry about those people with connections, because they usually, most of them can act, and those few like Leonardo DiCaprio and Nicolas Cage were, they were actually good, so they deserved to be there.
And Lorenzo, can I ask you a question?
Anything.
Okay. You don't want that. What do you have a set time that you do your schedule?
Well, because I have children, it has to be after all that. So with the online schooling, I have to do I'm doing kindergarten. I'm doing TK and second grade, going back and forth. And then that all gets done, because then I got to help them with their homework around, 1-ish. And then it's doing house stuff. So usually when they're in bed, I'm doing stuff. So usually between like 9:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll do stuff. Like the films I've written, usually I'm up at that time. I used to do like every single acting website, but I don't know. I think most of them are crap. I think most of them are just shit. The one I always get good stuff for that remains great is Backstage West. That's always been good for me, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I would say the only one that I ever got, I got stuff from two. I got from Actors Access, and I also got from Stage 32, of all places. I ended up a whole vein of my career.
I've never heard of Stage 32.
Well, it's a great little website for connecting with other artists. So
I was doing like about 7 different websites every single day, but not getting them. But I was like, no, I got to do it. They say do them all, and they were just all crap. So I only do Backstage, and but then also I always focus on what's going to create an effect. That's why I don't have problems saying no anymore, because I don't want any more tape. I don't need tape. Tape is not going to do anything for me anymore. I want a project that's going to create an effect. Meaning, even if I'm moving up the ladder an inch or below an inch, as long as I'm moving up, that's what I care about.
Great. And that's what it's about. It's every actor, and I say this to everybody, every actor is different than every other actor. And I know that may seem like a platitude, but it's not. Every actor has a different journey than any other actor, and you have got to respect your journey. And part of your journey is your talent. Part of your journey is your skill set. And part of your journey, this is for Elena, is your contacts and where you are in the industry. And we always can practice on getting better at all of those skills. We can all get better at networking. I mean, when I first started out, I was afraid of everybody. I was afraid of my own shadow. I was afraid of I didn't even know my own talent. I didn't even know I had any talent, really. I was just kind of shot out of the cannon into acting, but some actors, they come up through it and they're trained, and, that wasn't my journey. So every actor has to respect their own journey. Does that make sense? And to diminish and to discount your journey is to do a disservice to your own acting. Yes, Dan.
I don't want to distract from what your plan was today, but I did want to bring up that there's this thing in LA about the paid casting thing, which I resent and I've avoided my whole career, about being paid, like paying to read for a casting director, because it's like I always felt like that feels so non-vein of gold. It's like you're trying to like pay to now so that you can plug me into a slot that you feel. I don't know. I know so many actors do it, but I always felt like there was something shady about it. I just wondering what your opinion was.
Lorenzo, you unmuted yourself, so chime in.
Oh, okay. I think it's the earlier what Steven said. It's different for everybody. If there's a casting, I used to do them, but they were very cheap. Well, cheaper than they were now. And then I asked an owner if I can be their assistant so I could do it for free. And it was awesome because I met heads of studio and that was great. But I think it's different for everybody. If there's a casting director that does stuff that's perfect for you, but you can't get in front of her and you got to pay, I would pay. But I wouldn't do it all the time. I would keep it for like, well, you know, I got to get in front of her at some point. But if you hate it, then I wouldn't do it at all, because you'll probably not be good then when you meet her.
And I found it to be sort of like going on lots and lots of auditions for these casting directors. You never really make a personal contact with them. And I agree with Lorenzo. I think if it's someone that you really, really want to get in front of, do it. But I would do it to make a connection with them. And I would insist that I you know, through social media, you can now make connections with all these casting directors and you can follow up with them. And I'm not saying bombard them and be an a-hole, but what I'm saying is you can reach out to them and say, I attended your workshop and thank you so much for seeing me. And you could send them on occasion an email saying, you know, I'm doing this right now, or I just did this little project and, you know, take a look at it. You know, it's a matter of how you approach people. And a lot of actors, their approach is just hire me, and it's needy and it's graspy. You don't have to be that way. Remember, they are doing a job too. You know, casting directors are doing a job, actors are doing a job, directors are doing a job, and producers are doing a job. It's not just someone's like looking out and going, oh, well, we're going to give this person special treatment, or well, they're all trying to do a job. And I actually worked for one of the biggest casting directors in TV for a couple of years. And I will tell you this, they are bombarded. And so you have to find ways to get your work out there. You have to find ways to be seen. And that's part of the actor's gestalt. That's part of the actor's job, you know. Lorenzo, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. And they, you know, like when your agent submits something to them, or if you have an agent, or when you will have an agent, because everything is online now, they'll literally get like 30,000 submissions for like a guy walking in a room saying hello.
Yep.
And then they even have it prioritized. So if they like these agents, they'll have those agents in their online first. And it's as soon as you walk in from doing casting, I don't know what it is, but as soon as someone says hello, you know right away if you're gonna hire them or not. But it's that they have a very annoying job, as frustrating as it is for us, because it's definitely frustrating.
And you're right, Lorenzo. You know, when I'm casting something, you know, like I told all you guys, if you all came to read for me, as much as we hate being typecast, you would all be put in a category. I would put every single one of you into a category. And I know, because when I was casting the green room with Miss Jessica, didn't we? We put everybody into a category before they ever came into the room. And we didn't know who we were going to pick, did we, Jessica? But we did have people in specific categories, didn't we?
We did. And I'm just thinking back, and one thing that stands out too is when your headshot doesn't look like you, or the hair's really different, or what I thought Sammy did, so smart of her. She wore the exact same shirt that was in her headshot. So there's no confusion. You're not going to confuse, you know, one blonde for the 80 other blondes that walked in the room that day. That was smart. I walked out of there going, I should do that too. I should always wear the same shirt that's in my headshot.
And Jessica, that is true, because when I used to go out for TV and film auditions, I would wear the same blue jacket, the same tie that was in my headshot, that I knew that my agent submitted me, that the picture that my agent submitted me for.
Yeah.
So you're right. And by the way, what Jessica just said, when she walked out of there and she said, I'm going to do that too, that is called stealing from people who you think have it going on. And, you know, and I don't care if you're an actor or a writer or whatever, Carol, you're a filmmaker, whatever you are, it's okay to look at people and go, I like that, and borrowing it, you know? And so that is part of the game too, making sure that your whole package matches what you are presenting to the world. And that's why I'm teaching this class about Vein of Gold, because I want you guys all to go out there with your very own strong, powerful package that is marketed to where you want to act. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so thank you guys for checking in. This is just like, this is.
I did have something good happen since I've been doing this.
You did?
That I didn't tell you last week.
What? Tell me.
Yeah. Well, I've been dying to try to get with Hallmark, but it's just, I don't know. It's like a funny group of popular people that just don't want to let anybody in. So my wife sends me an email 2 weeks before this started, saying, hey, they're doing a writer's seminar. I had to pay for it, so I had to pay $500, but the executive producer of Hallmark will be there, one of their top writers, one of their actors. So I was like, oh my God, I totally got to do it. So I signed up, and I just finished it last week. It was for 5 weeks, and Marta Kaufman ended up showing up. Marta Kaufman owns Friends.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And so through the seminar, they gave us writer's prompts to come up with an idea. And then out of the 90 people, they were going to pick 4 people and read their scene. At 2 of the actors from Hallmark were going to read it. And I got to be one of them.
Wow, yay.
Yeah, so they read it. And then one of the ladies who started all the Hallmark movies said at the beginning, she goes, where's Lorenzo? I'll go, right here. She's like, make sure you write that idea, because when you get it done, I'll help you get it made. I was like, whoa, okay.
And so congratulations.
So now I'm like, oh, I gotta get it done. I gotta get it done.
So Lorenzo, you're gonna get Vicky King's book, How to Write a Movie in 21 Days, and you're gonna write that thing, right, and finish it.
I don't need it. I'm gonna go Lorenzo Leonard's book of writing it in 2 days. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do Stallone, where he wrote Rocky in 3 days. Yeah.
You're gonna go to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, just interior, exterior. Hello, okay, fight. We're done. No, but then they gave you the whole structure of how they write movies. They told you exactly what they want, the points, and they said they're all the same if you watch them. So I wrote that. So it's really easy. All I have to do is just take out their name, put in a new name, put in a new scene. So it's actually really easy.
Boilerplate.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Congratulations for your to be pulled from all those people and you to have it read. That's an amazing thing. And the fact that you made some contacts and they know you.
They were a lot of nice people. Because I wrote a children's book and I'm trying to get it made. And one lady's like, oh, I know a place, Lorenzo, email me. So it was those other talents you have. Like when I came out here, I had no connections, but you'll make connections along the way. And the thing to do is just keep in touch with them. Because if you go anytime, even if you're like, hey, Ashley, just wanted to say hello. You always have pretty makeup on Facebook, you know, which you do. You always have great. My wife said, who is that? She's got great makeup.
Thank you. I love doing makeup.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes. I think I invested in Ulta. Yeah. But I wanted to tell you that how you said good things start to happen when you start doing things. And so I'm really stoked about it.
And, wow. and that congratulations. And that is the way this thing works is back to my original point. You want to say yes to opportunities and you want to say no to drains. Okay, and usually you can tell the difference because you can usually feel it in your gut. Your gut will usually say, that's not such a good idea. And if you ever start feeling wobbly about a situation or a person, that is your gut telling you that something is off. And that doesn't mean you go off the deep end and you don't do it, it means you just need to do a little bit more research. Okay. And so, you know, you want to say yes to opportunities and you want to say no, and you want to start learning what diversions get you off track fast, because those are what I call blocks. Okay. That's what I call acting blocks. Anything that takes you out of your career. That's unnecessary. And I'm not talking about children. I'm not talking about your job, because jobs are important. Children are important. Family is important. But sometimes the line is blurred between those things and they can drive you bats, you know, if you're not careful and you don't have boundaries. So, you know, so much of what I teach actors is focus on your career and learn how to set your boundaries. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself saying yes to a lot of things that you don't want to do. Okay. So, and I'm glad that a lot of things, good things are happening for all of you. Yes, Elena.
What if we are our own block? For example, we are scared to start on acting. For example, when I have to do something else, I do it immediately. But when it's acting, I keep procrastinating because I'm scared to start.
How many of you collectively do that? Put your acting off, put it on back burner last minute? Okay. What I would say is do what the master Lorenzo just said. Do an hour a day. Sit down and go from, and block it off, just like you would going to the gym, as Lorenzo said. From 1 to 2, I'm going to focus on my acting. And come hell or high water, don't let anything get in the way of that 1 to 2. Treat it like a doctor's appointment. And here's why. What'll happen is, just like going to the gym, if you do it all the time at the same time, you will start to build a creative muscle. Basically, what you're talking about, Elena, is you're probably not as experienced as all of us here, or some of us, and your muscles are weak around acting, and thus your resolve around acting is kind of weak. Now, that doesn't mean your passion is weak. It just means that you don't have the practice. And if you look at my book and I talk about acting practice, that's what I'm talking about. You're building up your acting muscles. And what happens, I've always seen this happen, is one, your talent gets better, and 2, your resolve gets better. Okay, does that make sense? Okay.
Story
good.
that kind of helped me get past that was Danny Elfman. He originally was like in a band, Oingo Boingo, and Tim Burton approached him and asked him to do the music score for Nightmare Before Christmas. And he was nervous and scared, and he'd never done a score before. You know, he'd only been in a band. But he, as he says, he developed his own motto, and it was, fuck it. You know, what is the worst that could happen? And I mean, because he said fuck it, all of a sudden he is one of the best score artists for Tim Burton movies ever. So I mean, just do it.
Well,
yeah, you're not going to die in the end, so you got to think about that. So no matter
Right.
what happens, if you fall on your face, you're not going to like be kicked on the street and mutilated. You know, it's just like the movie with Matt Damon, We Bought a Zoo, just 20 seconds of courage.
absolutely. And I was watching a documentary about Dolly Parton that she
She's
did,
awesome.
and she said, it's called Here I Am. And she said, when I first made it to Nashville, it never entered my mind that I wasn't going to succeed, because what were they going to do? Kill me? And she's right.
Awesome.
And the same goes with acting. Is, believe me, guys, no one's going to kill you. No one's going to hurt you. And I mean, you may get frustrated or whatever, but really, no one has it in for you. And the only, and Elena, to your point, a lot of our blocks are internal and are our own self-sabotaging things. And if those are the case, if that's the case, then you got to get in and do some work on yourself. And I always say the work is not therapy. The work is not some expensive cluster or anything like that for the main. I say the work is usually creative. And if you create, that's why I have you guys do writing practice every day. That's why I have you guys do reading scripts every week. There is, in my teaching, practice is made perfect by doing it. It's not by thinking about it. It's not by wishing about it. It's by absolutely going out there and doing it. And believe me, there's challenges to acting. There's frustrations to acting. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's disgusting. But no one's really they're not gonna kill you. And there's no reason why you can't succeed at whatever level that you want to succeed. Does that make sense? But you gotta take the daily steps to do it. And then I tell actors, try not to binge so much. Try not to work, and then try to do it steadily. Because if you do it steadily, you don't drive yourself crazy. And you're not panicky when you're getting auditions. You're just like, okay, I got an audition, time to go and act a little bit. You're not going there absolutely nuts. You know, you have a structure behind you. And if you have a structure and a practice behind you, you have muscle and you know yourself and you know your worth, no matter what is going on in your career. You know, like I haven't had an agent for about 4 years. And I got to tell you guys, it's some of the most peaceful time I've ever had, productive time, because I'm not being pulled by things I don't want to do. I want to do this part. I want to do that. I'm not being thrown into a 5 and under thing that I have no idea what it is, and sitting there going crazy and, you know, and feeling rushed at the last minute and having to schedule my job. So to me, my career is right on track. You know, I just won 5 awards because I was able to take myself out of that crazy, because that always drove me crazy. And as actors, we have to know what drives us crazy and what we're good at. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. And you got a good look, Elena. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
Well,
the biggest thing is just don't give up. That's the biggest thing. Just don't give up. And when anyone who doesn't give up, as soon as someone tells you you're the worst actor in the world, you tell them good, because anyone that's heard that, they soon made it famous. Just ask Harrison Ford, who was told he would never work, and Robin Williams and a bunch of other people.
I actually had.
every artist is told they're no good. You know,
everybody, yeah.
Artists are told you're no good, get out of the business. We don't want you.
I mean, Marlon Brando wouldn't memorize his lines. For The Godfather, they had the actors were wearing things on their shirts of the lines. They're in the freaking trees. He's going, ugh, and he won a freaking Academy Award for it.
That's how I want my sets to be.
Right?
I don't want to learn any lines.
No,
Okay.
just put it on my shirt. There you go.
My eyes are up here. Okay. Okay. So I set you guys a task this week, and it was to create an I remember monologue. Now, what I want to do is we're going to go through the I remember monologues, and what I want everybody to do is I want everybody, when the person is done, I want everybody to unmute yourselves, and I want you to give them feedback. But here's the thing. I don't want you to say things like, good job, what you needed to work on. I don't want you to really judge the acting, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to focus on character and story. And I want you to tell the person what you saw and what you heard them deliver. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody, I'm going to mute all of you guys, and then I'm going to call on someone and you unmute yourself, and then after the person's done, then we all unmute and then we'll take it from there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm asking for volunteers. Who wants to go first? Raise your hands. Dan, go first. Unmute yourself. Dan?
I'm sorry, I was just getting centered, sorry. I remember getting the call from my friend Ari and waking up, turning on the television. The second plane had just hit the second tower, and I was so stunned, and I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to stay in my studio apartment. So I walked around to the corner coffee house because they had a big screen TV, and I watched the news coverage with other people in my neighborhood. And we saw one tower fall down, and then another tower fall down, and I didn't know what else to do, but I just started walking, and I started walking north all the way up to 116th Street at Columbia, where I had just started grad school. And I talked to other students, and nobody knew anything. We tried to talk about, what did this mean? What was this about to mean? And finally, the sun came down, and I knew I'd have to head back. At this time, all transit service had stopped, so I'd have to walk back to Hell's Kitchen. So I walked down Broadway, and it was all lit up. Times Square was completely lit up, but there were no people, and there were no cars. It was like a Twilight Zone episode. But there was one vendor who was selling T-shirts with the Twin Towers on them. I know that sounds crass, but I was like, my first thought was like, wow, that's really smart, because these are about to become a collector's item. Then almost immediately, people started putting up photos of the missing on every bus shelter stop, on every blank wall, all through Manhattan. And then people started lighting candles underneath all of those photos. And when the candles had melted down, they replaced them with new candles. And for that entire autumn, Manhattan was awash in candle wax. And to me, that's what I most remember about 9/11, is melted candle wax, block after block after block, for people who were missing and would never be found.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so everybody unmute yourselves, and I want you to tell Dan what his story was and what you saw. So give him recollection of what you saw, okay?
Dan, it brought me right to that day and where I was at, and it brought me I don't want to say beautiful memory, but it was a memory that will last forever, and I loved it.
Okay, now let's stay away from I loved it and what it was to me. Let's focus on what we saw in his story, okay? I saw a loner man hearing about this news and going out into community and seeing how much it affected everybody. And I saw all the candles being burned in memorial. Okay, so someone else give him recollection on that, on what you saw. Go ahead.
I did. I saw immense sadness and overwhelming shock about all the craziness and all the whole situation. And of course, I remembered how I felt too. But yeah, that was just kind of an overwhelming sensation.
Okay.
Of shock.
Okay.
I was
Carol.
I saw like a New Yorker point of view, being right there, and the surrealness of a place that's always crowded and there's no one, but also the brightness of the lights and kind of the difference that's cheery, and all the difference of what the World Trade Center meant all of a sudden. Yesterday it was just a t-shirt. Now it's like, wow, and kind of wondering about the guy and his guts or what it means to all of us.
And Dan, write all this stuff down because I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys, I'm so sorry.
Oops.
See, I left out the most important instructions. See, what y'all do to me. The reason I want you to write this down, Dan, is because we're giving you your vein of gold, your character, what's important of this to you, your story. And it's not just Dan's story, it's what Dan cherishes, like memorial. Go ahead.
If I can say the thing that really, like, when students had said, it felt like a gut punch, or not like a good one, like that really, like, that's it, is the loner in the community. I went to the coffee house to be with people. I went to school to be with people. I walked on Broadway to see people and there was nobody there. But I felt one with all these people from the candle acts. Burning, we all felt each other by burning candles for people we didn't even know.
And Dan, that is your vein of gold. That type of character, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for how Stephen feels about Dan's story. We're looking for what is Dan's story. And I'm glad that what I said about a loner going out into community hit you in the gut, because that is your nugget of gold. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
I also, yeah. I also think that finding the unusual thing that the one person who had the courage to start selling T-shirts in the midst of, like, everyone else is in shock, but he, like, I'm not judging the person. He's just like, oh my God, I've got all of these Twin Tower T-shirts, and people were, you know, it's like, and it's like that detail of like the one, you know, it's like there's something about the detail of that, that, like, what I think it was Rebecca or Carol who said that they meant one thing yet the day before, and now they made something totally different, this iconic thing, you know, the meaning of that.
And Dan, that is those are the things, Dan, that you want to look for in characters. I mean, you might do really great in, like, Terrence McNally type of plays, you know, things. Torch Song Trilogy. I'm not saying that you're going to play gay, but anything, and it could be a family thing, anything that has a memory, anything that's about a personal, like a loner, going out into community, trying to find community. Is that a big thing? I think that's a big thing of your vein of gold, isn't it?
And my life, and yes, both.
Well,
they intersect both really well.
Well, guys, your life is your vein of gold.
Yeah.
Your life is your vein of gold. Anyone else? Anyone else want to?
I thought he was steadfast, like in the chaos. I didn't get chaos from him. I got such certainty from him. I got this real steadfast character.
Dan, did you hear? Dan, did you hear that? That is so important what Jessica just said. What else, Jessica?
This earnestness, real earnestness.
Anyone else?
Yeah, what I first got was this guy who, you know, feels like he's just like everyone else in this city, and then all of a sudden he's numb and has to just get the hell out, because this could be it. So I don't care who it is. I just got to be around humans before we're all gone. And then there was shock and realization, and I think a little bit of life flashing before your eyes.
Because it's funny, we don't, at the time, we didn't know what to think, what was going on, you know, and so it's yes, all of that.
Hi, Alex. Okay, anyone else want to give him feedback on what you saw?
Yeah, I saw somebody who during chaos was trying to find normalcy, you know, either by finding people or going to places he knew, or even just looking at a vendor and not thinking a sad thing or like thinking of the trauma, but instead thinking like, great business plan, like finding all these ways to find a normal moment. And it's not until later on that you watch the pattern of people doing something outside the norm that it really sinks in.
Nice.
And I also, it's funny, in hindsight, I'm also thinking characters are on a journey, like walking was my first instinct. And,
Yep.
and this was before Julia Cameron's, or after, walking
Walking in this world.
But I often, if that clears as opposed to staying still, often walking helps me clear my head. And
I want to add, Dan, I want to add to yours, there's a lot of processing in this. A character who's processing, but it's like a methodical thing. It wasn't over emotional. I've heard other people read 9/11 things and they're all crying and stuff. Yours was very methodical, processed, very processing. And I don't know if that rings true for you, but there was like a slowing down. There's a lot of great characters that you could play who are processing. And I would look for those when you look at scripts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I could just see you going, wow, 20 minutes, I'm gonna die. And then just like thinking about just everything.
Yeah.
I kind of remember a lot about what was going on because I was out here, but I'm from New York, and seeing the whole thing, and people were just kind of milling around. I mean, especially if they weren't right in the vicinity, they were just kind of, maneuvering. I remember seeing some people that were walking across the Brooklyn Bridge to get home because there was nothing going anymore, or everyone was just afraid to do that. And yes, New Yorkers are like that. They kind of want to congregate and know how other people are dealing with things and being in the sense of their whole, state of being. Everything was just completely crazy. And, I even had to call up the place where I worked to say, like, are you still open? Because the headquarters was in New York. And they said, no, nobody should go to work today.
Right. And Dan, the thing that you might look at Tom in the Glass Menagerie, because that is someone who is processing, and he processes through memory. And I would look at that because that's a very tender story, and it's a very slow type of story that you might resonate with, and it's not overtly gay. So I think that would be something that you might want to look at. Okay, something in that vein. Someone who's a memory play, going back in time type of thing. That and you do it very clearly. Your images were so clear and so specific. Like Tom in the Glass Menagerie, everything is very, very specific. There's no like crybaby stuff. It's all methodical. Okay, great job. Okay, who wants to go next? Rebecca.
Okay.
Okay, everybody else mute yourself, please. Except Rebecca.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You asked me about my childhood Christmases. Well, I can tell you one thing. My dad and I, we always had to have the perfect tree. He would drive us to the lot. We would look over all the trees, and we would come home with the biggest, most perfect tree. And then when we got it home, we'd put it in that perfect stand, and we would put it in that perfect place in the house. And then we would wind those bulbs around it and around it and around it. And then we would put on each ornament the precious ornaments, one at a time. And then Dad would say, Becky, what time is it? And I'd say, it's tinsel time. Well, Becky, how do we do tinsel time? We put one piece of tinsel on each branch at the very end. That's right, Becky. Not 3, not 2, but 1 tinsel goes on each branch. Well, every once in a while, I would bring out 2 pieces of tinsel and I would hide them behind a branch, thinking, okay, Dad is not going to find them this time. Well, then he would make his rounds around the tree, maybe once, maybe twice. Becky, how do we put tinsel on this tree? It's 1 piece of tinsel at a time. Well, that went on till I was 18 and I moved out and I got to get my own perfect tree. Now mine was only 3 foot tall and it had a little tiny stand, but it was perfect to me. And so I put it in his little stand and then I put the bulbs all around it like I was taught to do. And I put on each little precious ornament at a time. And then it came to the tinsel. Well, I got out 1 piece of tinsel. And then I thought, okay, here's 2 pieces of tinsel. And I looked at it. And then I looked at the rest of the tinsel and I pulled it out. And what did I think? That's the perfect Rebecca tree.
Okay, everybody unmute yourselves and tell her what you saw.
Wow. Wow, what a story. Amazing. Amazing. Like it's a good childhood like memories. I mean, a little horrifying, but then you got freedom to say, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want to do.
You got
That's like a Christmas.
Yeah, I saw the childhood innocence and the family bond and the details and what was important to the family of being perfect tree, but then the growing up and that pause. Hey, wait a minute. Dad's not here. This is my tinsel time.
Yeah.
So, the growing up.
Exactly.
And it seemed to me that the dad was like really concentrating on perfection to the point of where it might just drive you kind of crazy. So when you finally got the chance to be yourself, you rebelled, because all along, while you were there, you wanted to rebel by putting on another piece of tinsel. So it was all a metaphor from what I see.
It's interesting. You have this beautiful tree behind you, and
no tinsel on it.
right, but it's.
I was thinking that there's no tinsel.
But it really helps the tree. I mean, helps the story in a way. It, and it's really about, it's really not even about, the story's not about tinsel. It's about someone discovering their individuality, their perfection and independence. And it's a person who discovers their independence is what I see.
Yeah, I
Great.
see rebellion turning into growth. The beginning, you're talking about trying to rebel in the most cute, adorable way you possibly could, of 1 additional or 2 additional pieces of tinsel in the place they're not supposed to be. But then as you grow up and you're realizing you can do whatever the hell you want, doing whatever the hell you want, not just thinking about it, but actually going and doing it is a big thing. And then, like you were saying, having the tree in the background is so meaningful because you don't see the tinsel anymore, right? You've grown up, you don't feel the need to have that part in your life anymore. And to see you in the foreground and the tree's just a background item is very meaningful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a sweet, very fun story. And I felt you got along, at least I felt you got along good with your dad. And it was almost like just a fun story. And I like that you're messing with him all the time.
Okay.
And I want to add something sneaky. mother, there's father, child, sneaky, rebellion. There's also sort of a militant thing that I liked from the dad, perfectionism, making sure that every single thing is in its right and proper place. And then at the end, when you pulled out that glob of tinsel, and it was like a big old mess, it was like you have that mess in your hands and you don't have a problem with it. It's your 3-foot tree. It's your life. It's your mess. So I sensed a big rebellion going on in your, and that is probably a big part of your vein of gold, as much as the cherishing of the memories of the memories of dad and child. Okay, so I would look for those things in your vein of gold. Not, you know, because you said one of your secret selves is Pollyanna. I think there's another side of your personality too that's not Pollyanna, that angry Annie, that has a lot. It's a powder keg. It's a powder keg within you, and those kind of characters, I think, would really serve you nicely, as opposed as well as playing the nice lady. You can also play the one who might come unhinged if
Right.
provoked. And that sometimes, Rebecca, is a little more interesting to play than the Pollyanna. And you might get more oomph out of that because it's in your story. Did you guys
Misery.
all feel that? Yeah, misery. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know, a lady who, Misery is a perfect example. Remember, she was perfectionistic about all those ornaments, and she knew it. And the reason she caught him getting out of his chair is because the penguin was moved, and she caught him. That is your type of vein of gold too. See?
Okay. Yeah, I do.
See, and the reason I'm having you guys do this is because I want you to see that your vein of gold is already there. See, it's not something you have to put on.
Well, Stephen, it's bringing out the memories that are kind of pushed down, and they take a form of their own. Because I think I told you I had changed what monologue I was going to do, and the one I was going to do was so doggone sad that I thought, no, I've got some good stuff. I've got some not light stuff, because it's not light, because my relationship with my dad was really not good.
Yeah, you
but
could
that
pick up
was
on that.
exactly how he was. And yeah, when I ran away from home and had my own place, yeah, I rebelled a lot. So
now
every Christmas come along, yeah, you remember things. Yeah.
But did you,
that's true, Alex. Yeah.
did you guys hear how she said, I ran away? See how much power that is? See how much rebellion that is? You know, I recently wrote, I told you guys all this, but my dad passed away last year. And so I finally wrote a screenplay about the crap that he put my family through and the peril that he put me into. You know, bless his heart, but it was the truth. It was the truth of the situation. And I have never felt better about writing something because it shows a moment in time. It shows the truth. It's not covering anything up. And as we do these writing practices, you find that sometimes something will open you up and you'll go, oh my God, that memory's there. And that memory is, as whether they're good, they're bad, they're as important to you as your fingerprints in your thumbs and your fingers. Okay, so you know, you don't have to justify any of the writing or anything that's artistic, because you can always use it. See, the point of these I remembers is it gives you access to stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly that has happened in your life, and you don't feel ashamed of it. That doesn't mean you go on the street corner and saying to everybody, I ran away when I was 15 because you don't do that, because you learn that it's your story, and you can convert that story into a screenplay. You can convert it into a character that you're playing in your acting. And that's what's going to make your acting stand apart from actress number 47 auditioning for the same role. That's what you're going to bring to the character. And if you don't have access to it, I tell actors, if you don't have access to it, you don't bring it to your acting, because you don't consciously use it. So when you learn how to consciously use all these memories, that's when you have power over them and they don't have power over you. And I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay. Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, who's gonna go? Who's my next person?
Me?
All right, Samantha. Okay. Oh my God, my whole thing. Okay, Samantha.
Oh, do I have to unmute?
Yeah, you unmuted, everybody else mute yourselves.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead.
Well, while I was looking at some of the collage photos that I wanted to use, I remembered that I had a theater pamphlet from a cinema fashion award show that I attended in 2018 as a seat filler. This was my first time as a seat filler at an award show, and it was pretty exciting to me. I arrived at the lobby of the Saban Theater and was surrounded by 3 of my major passions: fashion, film, and entertainment. There was glamour everywhere. All were dressed to impress. We gathered in the auditorium and were seated at our temporary seats, which were assigned to the presenters and their families and the award recipients. We had to leave the seat each time one of the actual assigned people arrived, and we were given a different seat if it opened up. The seat that I was assigned to I was brought to by Val Chmerkovsky from Dancing with the Stars. Can't pronounce his name, but whatever. Anyway, dancing and the show is another one of my favorite passions. So this seat was a front row center seat, and pretty much the best seat in the house. So although I wanted Val to come and go into the seat so that I could meet him in person, he never showed up, even though he was a presenter. So I got to sit in the seat the whole show, and it was amazing. And it was the very same row that another person that is just about my idol, Donna Mills, was seated in. And later on, after the show was over, I got to tell her how much I liked her in the last theater performance I saw her in. And the show ended with music and dancing, and it was just fantastic. I had a great time.
Okay, everybody unmute yourselves and tell her what you saw.
A woman in a fantasy world. A woman in a fantasy world?
Yeah, anyone else?
An excited woman
Yeah.
talking about these great things she got to do.
A fan and excited to meet her idols and be in all that glamour.
But there's that character that shows up in comedies of the person of the lucky break, of like Lucille Ball, like the lucky things would just happen and found yourself, like find yourself in the right place at the right time, almost like a female Forrest Gump, that you just, things happen and you just get like life. Like they say, you know, some people are born great, some people achieve great, some people have greatness thrust upon them. And I could see you play one of those characters that has glamour thrust upon you, and And can also see, what I also see is that there's a Delta Dawn quality here. That if you just flip it ever so slightly, there's an element of that there's a slight quirky glamour, and it's very endearing.
Yeah.
Definitely quirky glamour, and this phrase that's going around social media comes to mind of living your best life, that kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
Somebody who was okay with being just in the background and, you know, being a seat filler and not being paid attention to. And instead of realizing that you get to sit in the front and everyone sees you more than anything, you were more excited to meet someone else. You almost never realizing that you are the main character.
But there's that blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth thing here, is that because you were happy being a seat filler, this greatness of getting the best seat in the house was thrust upon you. Whereas opposed to if you had clawed and tried to get the best seat in the house, it wouldn't have happened. Just but your innocence, almost like an older Snow White, things just fell into place because your intention was pure.
Yeah.
I like that innocence, definitely innocence in the tone and everything. Absolutely.
I also got a sense of stepping into someone else's shoes and trying them on, sort of like Queen for a day or a movie star for the day type of thing. And there was also, I don't remember the three things, but you mentioned your three passions. It was like movies, glamour, and fashion, I think.
Yeah.
That is your vein of gold, someone who's looking for that, I saw. Anyone else?
Almost like Cinderella. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yep.
Oh, excitement, fame. You know.
There's almost a Lucille Ball quality of, she wants to be down at the club in the show at the Tropicana. It's like always wanting to be in the limelight, And
There you go.
Yeah, I like what Dan said, because I could totally see you playing a character who's like trying to go on a date, real excited, maybe haven't been on a date in a while, it doesn't work out, but you get stuck in an elevator with like, Jimmy Stewart all of a sudden. and you're like, whoa, this, you're like, oh, this never happens to me. And it's like every other day, your autograph book is worth like $20 million. And they tell you, oh, you wouldn't believe it. I met Frank Sinatra and he made out with me. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, I could totally see, like, let's go to Aunt Linda's house. She's always got the stories, but they're real, but they're thinking there's no way.
Yeah, they are real.
That's why I say excitement and fame. Yeah.
I also see the fringes of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Fringes of Hollywood, not quite being there, but not quite there. Like Dan was saying, the Lucille Ball thing, or as Sarah was saying, the Cinderella. She doesn't really get to go to the ball, but when she does, it's sort of like a fluke,
But I think what Lorenzo said was brilliant. The idea is that it's all accidental. Yeah. It's like, it's like you get to go to the ball, you get to go to these things, but none of it's on purpose. You just happen to stumble into the lucky chance, like your elevator breaks and you happen to be standing next to Meryl Streep, who says, "Oh, I have an empty seat, come sit next to me." Whereas, and then you're walking to your car, and then George Clooney says, "Hey, do you need a lift?" It's all accidental, but everything happens, and nobody would believe it if you told it, but it's all there, and it's
absolutely Marlon Brando's son when he gave me a lift.
So
like a storyteller.
There is story.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think that could be part of your vein of gold, is someone who's like sort of accidentally gets famous,
Yeah.
like the movie Dolly Parton did called Straight Talk, where she's like a DJ, and then all of a sudden things happen and she becomes something bigger than she is. And then she's like in this world, like Sarah was saying, like a Cinderella. She's like, oh, I'm at the ball. So those are the types of characters that you want to look at. because that is a very strong character in you. So Samantha, look at those, when you're looking at scripts, look at those kind of parts, okay? Okay, great. Okay, who wants to be my next victim?
I have something to say. It reminds me of that character from The Devil Wears Prada, because
I'm gonna say
she had that bad style for a fashion magazine, and she still got that trip to Paris. Like I don't know how to explain. The people who have been working longer for that woman, they couldn't make that, but she did. That kind of vibe. I forgot the names of the characters.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Anne Hathaway's character.
Exactly.
Yep. And Samantha, what you might do is you might go back and watch that movie, or even read that screenplay and watch how that turn happens with that character. Okay. And when, the whole point of all this stuff is when we recognize our vein of gold, and when we see scripts that have those types of characters, those are the things that you really put your teeth into.
Mrs. Roper.
Mrs. Roper. Absolutely.
Mrs. Roper told the craziest stories, but they're all real.
Yeah.
But more the rhythm of your voice and how you're speaking, totally just like Mrs. Roper. Not looking at anything here. I'm just saying that.
I think Baker's wife in Into the Woods.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Who's going to go next? Carol?
All right. Carol.
Gotta mute yourselves.
Did I unmute? Hear me? Okay. Did she forget that her son beat another boy with a broom? That they threw rocks? That there are a lot of fights? Geez, they even started beating up the trees and branches. How can someone not know what safe means? Again, it was Indigo's daughter who brought up the keep your clothes on rule, and I was surprised since the parents had assured everyone that they would take care of this. Madeline doesn't like any boundaries for her children. She didn't like kid council because there were rules. She said Moonbeam wouldn't go outside once it started. Good, that was my reaction. If he can't handle boundaries, then let him stay inside. Let her deal with him. But no, her philosophy is it takes a village to raise a child. Here, village, take my child. So that came from memories.
Did not. You made that up.
That almost sounds something like verbatim Julia Louis-Dreyfus could have said on Seinfeld. Very much that cynic.
Woman out of control. Woman who the PTA mother who's been pushed to the edge by the system. Okay, so all you other people, because I've known Carol a long time, but y'all all chime in.
I was kind of thinking of a female Chandler Bing.
Yes. Yes.
I felt like I was listening to Chandler.
Oh, God.
Do you remember Carrie Snodgrass in Diary of a Mad Housewife?
Yeah.
Or Barbara Streisand in For Pete's Sake?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the housewife pushed to the, or not even the housewife, but the wife and mother pushed just slightly beyond the edge is a character that shows up a lot, and we love that character.
My crazy girlfriend, redhead, the best friend.
What'd you say? Would you say that again?
My crazy ex-girlfriend, the best friend is the redheaded paralegal who's that mom. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Harbor Valley PTA.
Yes.
That song.
Yes. Yes.
Also someone who's fed up with the fringe society. Someone who's like fed up with their own world. It's not a corporate world you're fighting. It's sort of like this NPR type of, um, type of, I don't know. I'm probably not saying this correctly, but it just, this one, like you weren't talking to CEOs. You were talking to other mothers, like the crazy village, the caveman woman, that type of it's absurd comedy, but it was so grounded in truth. It was, Carol, that was so grounded in truth.
Carol, you reminded me of my daughter. Exactly. She's been fighting battles with people, so yeah, I liked her.
Like to meet her.
I feel like if you
we need
somebody
some support here.
And Carol, I'll go on the limb. Don't take this personally, but the troublemaker, the person who's doesn't fit in and doesn't, like my sister Sharon is the exact opposite of me. She will confront someone at the drop of a hat. And she is not embarrassed by it. She doesn't care what comes out of her mouth. And she's always been that way. And so I see that type of woman, someone who's just unguarded and like, screw you all. This is almost like she's bombastic. She wants her way more than she cares about social norms. Does that make sense?
I was kind of thinking Shelley Long from The Money Pit.
Yes.
I was thinking Annie Potts.
Aww.
Yeah.
So, Carol, does all of this ring true for you?
Yes. And what you said earlier about not getting into fights, I had to not do that this week, like you said, and it was hard. I was like, I want to battle this, but I'm gonna protect my artist. I'm gonna protect my sanity. And they said, call me. I was like, and I just sent a little email like, that's it. So yeah, that's interesting. If it's your vein of gold, but it can make you, it can get you off track too. So that's good.
I see a character who has like a constant inner dialogue going that is hilarious, but it's only funny because you're constantly calling out people on their bullshit. Where like somebody is like clearly pretending to be like a perfect housewife and you're like, please, you do cocaine in the bathroom. Fuck you.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, definitely sarcasm. I could totally see you just every little thing. Oh yeah, I suppose you're right when your husband's boinking other people, but have a great night.
Yes.
Think of the characters of Designing Women. That's what they do all episode. They bust other people for their bullshit, like Annie Potts.
Absolutely. Okay, who's gonna go next? All right, Jessica. Everyone else mute yourself, please.
See, let me explain something. I remember the sounds of screaming mothers coming through the walls. I mean, the pain, it was like a cobra, a giant cobra was squeezing my torso and it held and squeezing, holding, and suffocating me. Have you ever had a Charlie horse? Well, like that, but all my muscles were involuntarily springing into action and over again. I mean, my God, when's it gonna end? 22 hours. I got lockjaw and I couldn't talk and my teeth were chattering and my whole body went into shock, just shaking. And they put me on oxygen, but no, not for me, it was for the baby. And then I just scribbled these incoherent notes to my husband and they rolled me away. Like, what? But it was like, what? You're not gonna slice me open while I'm shaking, are you? And yeah, they do. See.
Great. All right, guys, unmute yourselves and give Miss Jessica some feedback.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I guess surprisingly, you're surprised by pain you experienced with your birth, like a child. I mean, it's a lot like you have a little trauma, but not too bad. It's just you didn't expect that's going to go that way.
But one strong woman, but it's,
Yeah,
you know,
very strong. Yeah.
a very strong woman.
A woman fighting off fear.
Yeah, I see a lot of like using comedy and like it's fine to like
Yeah,
kind of characters.
yeah. You made like a comedy, you're right. Yeah.
Call the midwife. It's like a very detailed description of what it's like to be in labor for a very long time. Very specific. Each little thing that you gave us was so powerfully specific. And when you did the monologue, I saw it like in your body. It was really came out in your body, and it was still there, and it was very vivid for me, the lock jaw. And then when they wheeled you out in the incoherentness, but you were still coherent enough to remember it. That's what I find, that's what I found, that's what I remember. Anyone else?
A lot of strength, a lot of strength. You like start out punchy and like bringing us into a world that just sounds traumatic and bringing us into a place that we can relate, like the Charlie horse all over your body, or being scared that they're actually going to cut you open, things like that that we can relate to, but you're clearly a strong person.
And
what about
fighting,
snake? What about that snake at the beginning? Go ahead, Dan.
no, but there's a fighting element even when you were like, you know, whatever drugs or oxygen they were giving you, you were still fighting all the way through. And even, you know, with that snake, that at first, before I realized what it was, didn't know if this was going to be like an adventure story. And so it's like, you know, I mean, clearly you're an adventurer, and there are times in the story of the adventurer where, like, you know, it's no fun if they're always on the upside. So sometimes, you know, they're on the back foot, and then the fun is let's watch them get on the front foot again. But it was, yeah, a real woman of adventure too.
Yeah, an everyday adventurer.
Finding your voice, you know, even just it comes from way down deep. It might not be comprehensible, but it's there, and you're going to say it no matter what.
And I also saw the note you wrote to your husband. That was very, very clear to me. That note, it just really struck out in my mind. Anyone else?
It was like suffocation. But you could understand why.
Yeah, I like that even though it's like a memory piece, it still felt very present, like in like now. And it wasn't like describing something. I felt like it was very, this is happening now, or like you put me there with you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough to make it short because this was a 3-page, I remember. It went pretty long, but it was a good exercise to kind of like try to truncate the whole thing.
And do you see though, by making it less, it actually reeled us in, and it wasn't verbose, it wasn't too much. And there's so much more that you can go and do with this piece. And it actually, there, I think this is Ashley said, it made you feel like you were right there in that moment. It wasn't like memory. It was like you pulled us in and we were right there, like almost like in the series called The Midwife, when it's so close up on those women sometimes that when I watch that show, sometimes I feel like I'm giving birth because it's so intense. And but it wasn't so over emotional that it was crazy. You let your character have her crazy, but we got to be one step removed from it, but in a very connected way to your piece. Does that make sense? You didn't so many dramatics that we were sobbing. We were with you 100%. And we would have followed you all the way from that point to when you actually held your baby. We would have followed you because you were so grounded. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
that to me is what great acting is. Even dramatic crying type of acting. You always want to be able to command what you're doing to the audience, and you did that so great, Jessica. Wouldn't you guys have all followed her for 2 hours on that?
Yeah.
I was right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So so that's your vein of gold. That type of story, the strong woman, the woman who survives, the woman who comes out of trauma with well, I'll just say it, a baby. You got the gold. The gold. The baby is that's the Jesus story. That is like the gold. You got the treasure.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, that's interesting.
And go back to last week when you did Indiana or Diana Jones.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know, it's the same. See, guys, it's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
all the vein of gold is already in you. You know, just waiting to be birthed. Bump.
Mine was not 10 pounds, 2 ounces, and 24 inches long.
He was 10 days past due.
Oh.
It's a 3-day.
I weighed 1 pound and 14 ounces. Y'all are all lucky I'm here. No. Okay, who wants to go next? All right, Alex.
It's my life story. I remember June 1995, deep in the mountains. I wish I was there for hiking. Holding rifle, AK-47, tape double magazine, together few hand grenades, handmade Rambo look-alike knife. I was no hunting. Sound of the screaming air like a whistle breaking down through the tree branches. 120 millimeter mortar gun projectile makes sound you can't forget. I remember jumping head first to the bunker. Just an explosion wave covered my face. Sensation feeling I'm on fire. It felt like someone took hot iron and pressed on my face. The whistle scream through the air you can't forget. I wish I was there hiking.
Okay.
Wow.
Great vein of gold. And I just want to say what I saw is your beginning and end. I wish I were hiking. That is a great lead and it's a great ending. And all the stuff that was in between about the military and the hotness on your face, that was all very, very, very real to me. And I followed it step by step. Okay, guys, unmute yourself and tell him what you saw.
I saw a strong person, and a very strong person that has so many things inside that need to get out. And I felt the same thing that Stephen did. I could feel the hotness on my face, and I could hear that going past me and whizzing away, and the bomb going off. I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
Close.
Well, who else? Go ahead. Anyone else?
I saw a very proud guy. He was very proud, and I don't know, I kind of felt like he was funny. You know, he's this funny guy, but he's holding back. Like he can't be funny. It's not right, but I feel like there's a funniness in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
You can
found some
make it fun.
escapism in the drama of it all. Like while there was all this horribleness happening, all you wish you were doing was hiking, being in a
Yep.
beautiful place with,
Oh
you
yeah, I
know,
love
hunting with your
forest. I
gun.
love
It
the
would have been
air.
so
Yeah.
nice.
Yep.
It almost reminds me of like the character from The Revenant, where he's truly just trying to be with his family and do something normal, but instead he has to go through hell to do it.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Military stories. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, like escapism. What struck me was that amidst all the other chaos, you were just kind of like,
That was
okay.
just part of it. That was just part of the. Okay.
Meh.
There's also proud of your past, as hard as it was and difficult and demanding. There's like a sense of, there's not a sense in that of to me survivor guilt or anything like that. There's a sense of pride, and I did what I had to do, and not even angry or sad about it, just matter of fact. And just the facts, ma'am, feel to it. And anyone else have anything?
Well, I knew.
Also,
Go
you
ahead.
can go on. I will
Good.
say it
No,
afterwards.
you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Thank you. Someone who is paying attention to their surroundings, because he talked about the wind, what he heard, what he felt, like he paid attention to that despite the
Ninja.
circumstances.
That's what saved me.
Yeah.
The senses.
What'd you say, Alex? Is that what did you say?
Ninja, you know, the senses. The yeah.
Alex, ever since that you've been with us, I knew there was something inside and I never wanted to ask what.
Yeah.
Now you told us.
Yeah.
And by the way, that, you know, that sense of someone who writes the facts down, who writes their journal down, those are the types of characters, Alex, that I would look for, like memory, military service, you know, even comedy. It doesn't have to be drama.
Okay.
It could be drama, but it could be comedy as well, because
Yep.
you have a very matter of fact and even light approach that you have toward it. It's not like I was in war and it was so bad. It was like, I wish I were hiking, but I'm here. And that's you can lean into that energy, okay?
I like it.
I feel like a good
You
movie would have
helped
been
me.
like,
You helped me a lot with that remember thing. That's why I start thinking different way. When you say I remember, and then I say I remember, and I wrote and I rewrote, I say, oh, this sounds like much better.
if you
Yeah, I
haven't
like
seen
it.
it, check out 1917, the movie. I feel like that's perfect for this, where it's just like an everyday person, but they're going through a war. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like more like Saving Private Ryan. That was
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep 3 nights after that one.
Well, they're, you know, they're all 1917 and Saving Private Ryan and all those military movies. You know, and by the way, there is a huge market for that. There's a lot of people who write those types of scripts, and I don't mean just I don't mean just Hollywood movies. There are a lot of people who write those military movies and all of that. That's a big part of acting, and the more you can hone that and own it, the better. You know, for you.
What I would say to Alex is that you could absolutely play military, like, you know, you could play like the soldier, you know, the straight up, you know, the soldier, but there's the convention in comedy that comes from you expect a soldier to be one way, but you have this ability to do comedy and be zany, that when the person who is supposed to be the steadfast soldier ends up being the zany one. It's a convention of comedy all the time. where it's like the funny line, comes, from the unexpected source, and you have that ability to be comic but be stoic at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly gold, that you have that ability to carry yourself with the major thrust of a soldier, but still have the ability to be funny, and that's amazing.
And I want to add to Dan, it's funny without being over the top funny and knowing that you're funny. And I would just add that because I don't want you, as I wouldn't want to see you going out and trying to play funny. I think you
No, just natural.
by being straight, and by straight I mean just matter of fact. And sometimes that's the funniest character, the ones who are just right down the barrel and they just say it the way it is. And those are sometimes the funniest character. Even in Shakespeare, sometimes it's not always the clown. It's sometimes the one who just speaks the truth or says the one-off, but they don't know they're funny. So look at that type of stuff as well. Okay, who is next? All right, Lorenzo. Everyone mute yourself, but except Lorenzo.
All righty. All right. First monologue, I actually enjoyed writing. So that was good. Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, because I hate monologues. But this one I liked. I remember when I moved to LA. I arrived on January 21st in the evening. It was the beginning of my professional acting career. Since I was 2 years old, I've wanted to be an actor in movies. And now that journey was beginning. I sat on this bed in the corner of this room that my father was renting for me. I wondered, what would my acting future be? I felt great. I achieved a big goal by moving to California. I was 24 years old, and months before this, my father had sat me down and said, okay, go to college, I'll pay for it. Or go to Los Angeles and pursue that dream that you've been talking about your whole life. Take your college money, but you have to do one thing. We were in his office. He went, come here. And I leaned in and he leaned in. Make me one promise. Never give up.
Okay.
Wow.
All right,
Strong,
guys.
very strong.
Okay. Unmute yourselves and give Lorenzo some feedback.
Very strong desire, really like a go-getter.
I think free spirit, an independent spirit, but write your own rule book.
Throw your own pencil.
What was that? Grow your own pencil?
Your own pencil.
Oh.
Throw your own pencil.
A lot of hope. A lot of hope. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I see that you had really resonated what your father said to you about never giving up.
I found I was drawn in when your father said, come here. I leaned in because that part was so real. And we all, going to Hollywood, you're 24 years old. And I saw that he said you could either go to college or have this money. And I saw this guy with like a treasure. It's like a treasure, like a quest.
Wow.
Renzo, I saw you being the underdog of this quest, of this Hollywood thing. And it was almost like the beginning of a loser makes good story. And it was very strong. Anyone else?
Also risk taker.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. A risk taker. Like he's risking. He got the college money from his dad, and he could go to college and have a safe job. But he went to that adventure because his passionate about it. And that's kind of a risk.
It felt like that moment with Peter Parker and Uncle Ben, you know, and so even though you want to act, your father is also one of those inspirations that's going to push you along even when you're having a tough day.
Definitely.
Anyone else?
It reminded me of a movie, I'm not sure if you know it, called Definitely Maybe. I think it's on Netflix, but there's like, he'll do these like monologues in between when he's telling the story to his daughter. And it's a lot of passion and a lot of like, this is the dream and this is what I'm doing. And I don't, it reminded me of that. And I think that would be a good.
I've seen the trailer. I'll check out the film.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, one of the things I love about your major thrust, another way of saying the vein of gold, is you are a risk taker with a smile. Is that there's a sense of fun about your risk taking. You know, there are lots of risk takers out there who do it with a crusading and a passion, but you always have a smile, and so there's a sense of fun when you talk about it. Not everything we do is fun, but you have a sense of fun about you, and so I would keep that. You know, that is, I think, part of your vein of gold, is that you bring a sense of fun to it, and maybe nobody told you it wasn't supposed to be fun, and that's no. I mean, the point is that's great. It's like,
yeah, no, I got it. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
And that is, you know, that sense of fun is different than playing someone who is a total Hollywood douchebag who's going to like step on everybody to make it. You have this sense of like Dan said, you're doing it with a smile. You know, you're just like, oh, this is my dream and I'm gonna go for it. But you do it with a sense of joy and passion, as opposed to someone who's determined and mean. It's a different character, and Dan was very astute to point that out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Kudos to your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's your hero.
He was very awesome. Absolutely. He passed about 5 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
And like Stephen, I wrote a film after he died, but a little different. But yeah, he always resonated that with me. What's funny is I grew up in a house with a brother. My father was always like, never give up, never give up, never give up. So that's all I've ever had in my head. But my brother quit everything. But we lived in the same house.
Right.
And
it happens.
And it's good, Lorenzo, to recognize that difference. You know, I used to think that I was an extreme oddball because I'm gonna try to say this nice. I didn't value everything in the family that they valued. And I always felt like, you know, go back to one of my secret selves, I always felt like an orphan because I really felt like I fit in with what my family held to be valuable, like having kids and marriage. And it wasn't just because I was gay. It was because I was an artist, and no one in my family had ever pursued the arts. And so I always felt like sort of an oddball. And those two dynamics can live in the world. You know, the Lorenzo who goes and goes after his dreams, and the brother who never amounts to anything, you know, and that even is a good story as well that you could write.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, okay.
And we're all your children.
Great. Okay. I love you all. I love you all, my children. Okay. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay, Ashley.
So I don't remember how old I was, but if I had to guess, I'd say I was about 8 and she was maybe 5. We didn't argue too much as kids, but we had on this day, I guess, and it was so dumb that I don't even remember why. So long story short, we shared a bedroom, and I was quite upset at her for some ungodly 8-year-old reason. So I took it upon myself to take my little pink Hannah Montana scissors and the most balls I think I've ever had in my entire life, and cut up her stupid little shirt and her stupid little jeans, poke holes in her little shoes, and completely chop her hair off. Oh, and I took a fine tip Sharpie to her face, her weird little disproportionate head. It was so damn liberating. I mean, as liberating as you could feel as an 8-year-old girl. I know it's bad, but I'm smiling because to this day I think it's kind of funny. I left her face down in the middle of our bedroom, and I went and ate some mashed potatoes with my mom afterwards. I mean, yes, I got in trouble, and yes, it wasn't very fun, but I was mad. And Bratz dolls have always freaked me out anyways. My mom bought her a new one, and I still think it's funny. I was a mean little girl. That's it.
Okay. All right. Everybody, unmute yourselves. I want to just jump in and say, Ashley, when you got to the balls part, that just slayed me. And it was so unsuspecting to come out of your mouth that it was absolutely refreshing, because it's not what we expect from your quote unquote look. And I love it. Okay, everyone else go.
I've seen it. I've mentioned this before, but I think part of your major thrust is you're a secret assassin, and like you have the total ability to be a double agent and a spy, because you have the it's because it goes against your look, but you have this, like, it's like this, like if people only cross you once. And it's such a great thing, because they find out there's so many great roles written by people, you cross them once and then you get the delicious scene of chopping them into bits, and then they'll never do it again. And so a lot of great scenes out there for you.
Anyone
I
else?
saw Mean Girls.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
Someone who's not embarrassed by being mean can be mean with a clear conscience. That's different than someone being mean who's guilty. Usually the person you're being mean to probably deserved it.
I just get first, I love your look. You got a great look. But I just think a real woman, not these like fake morons. Just like, if you're nice, she's going to be nice to you. If you get her if you do something mean, not like just something strange, but actually something mean, she's going to let you have it, like the doll. I thought the doll thing was absolutely hilarious. I don't blame you, And at the middle, I don't know if you purposely flubbed, but but it was at the right moment. But I thought it worked so well. But I just think that's just a real person.
No, I just messed up.
Oh, it worked so well. It was at the right word. But
Yeah.
I just think a real person.
Someone
Well, I was worried.
Go ahead.
I was worried that it was a real person that you were chopping, first of all. And then I'm thinking, no, not Ashley. So you had me going.
It's also,
I think resourcefulness, because a child is powerless, so they don't really have the way to express anger, but it came out, and that can still come out in other ways, maybe ruining someone's Christmas tree or something, or their decorations in front of their house or something.
or the girl who annihilates the guy's car, who's cheating on her, that type of, very destructive personality inside a really pretty shell. That's a great dynamic to play.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just,
say
yeah.
relatably mean. Like,
Yeah.
I could watch something with you in it and totally understand why you did something and be like, yeah, fuck them. Like, it doesn't matter what you had done. It could have been absolutely horrible, but like, you're right.
Yeah, your emotions is on your sleeve. you know, those, just so whatever happens, like Sarah said, you're good. You're not going to hide it and say, you're in a theater, oh, we'll talk later, honey. Oh no, he's going down right there. And all the other women are going to be like, I'm so jealous. I always wanted to do that.
And I could see her doing that with like, even, forgive me, but kids, but you forgive her because she's so damn pretty. And you're like, you know, she didn't really mean it. She just snapped, you know, and you like kind of forgive her for like being kind of nuts. And you know, that's a thing too.
I think Pretty Little Liars would be perfect.
You know, with your good singing voice, you could put a whole new spin on Mary Poppins. That would be just absolutely hilarious. You know, it would just be the funniest Mary Poppins. Still singing great, spoonful of sugar, but other things would occur, and I think that would be the best Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
Mary Poppins' evil twin. Her
like
evil twin.
Yeah, like a spoonful full of arsenic. Yeah.
She's gonna be super nice. She takes care of the kids great, but you know, Tommy, wait right here. We're gonna, you know.
Okay, let's go to Sarah.
Oh God. Okay. I remember as a child absolutely wanting to be like my sister. She was 6 years older, always seemed cooler. She was always taller, seemed to have better hair, but at the same time, I loved to manipulate her. I remember anytime she did something wrong, I had to know and blackmail her. There was one time my sister had cigarettes underneath her bed, and I knew that they were hers, and I knew she had been smoking. So I did the only logical thing that was in my power, was to tell her that she had to pay me $20 and I wouldn't tell Mom. Well, stupidly, she paid me $20 like she did every other time I blackmailed her. And I didn't tell Mom. I just brought her into the room and clearly showed her where the cigarettes were. But I didn't tell her, so it was totally fair. Well, my sister, I think out of the 20 years that we had been together, got me back one day. I think it might have been the only time she's actually gotten me back. I was sitting on the floor going through her stuff under her bed, and I was so excited to find hand sanitizer. Well, my sister's on the phone with her friend, and she starts giggling, and I think nothing of it. I ask her what? She doesn't answer. So I pull out the hand sanitizer. All excited because this is the first time I've seen hand sanitizer. It was new in the world, and there's no way I was not going to try it. So I pull it out, flip the cap, I hear it click, and I squeeze out a bunch of hand sanitizer on my hands. And I just start rubbing, and I'm so excited to see what it's like. And I keep rubbing. And I keep rubbing, and it's really not rubbing in. I look at my sister, and she's almost peeing her pants, laughing with her friend. And I got so angry, I just screamed at her, "What? What is it?" And she's laughing and laughing to the point where she can't even speak. She grabs the bottle from me, turns it around, shoves it in my face, and says, "Hey, dumbass. You got lube on your hands."
Okay.
I loved it.
You're very Zooey Deschanel, very like new girl, every girl, and funny.
Yeah.
This one acting class I took, there's this one emotion they would talk about called, if you ever heard of it, covert hostility. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
And it's basically the person with the knife behind their back, like, "Hello, Sarah, I love you so much." And I mean, you're rocking that. You're just, I mean, that is your emotion, and you do it very, very well. And you're doing it with your pretty makeup. You look very pretty, which makes it even better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The woman who's not afraid to laugh at herself. The woman who can, she gets herself into this. She gets herself into her own predicaments, and she's not afraid to say, "This is what I did to cause it." So it's like the opposite of a victim. It's absolutely the badge of honor type of woman who's like, yeah, I screwed up. My sister got me back. Someone who's not afraid to face her own revenge or karma that comes around on her.
Karma, yeah.
Yeah, blackmail your sister. That's really good.
I loved doing it. It was great.
That's the best part. I like that.
Like a con artist got conned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. The
I
con
never
artist
understood
gets
people.
conned. Those are great characters.
I
And
could see you like the person who, like, all the girls want to go. What if you're in college, not a fraternity, but what's the girls version of a fraternity?
Sorority?
Yeah, like you don't like those, and it's your goal to take all of them down.
Yep.
Like in the most embarrassing way, you're gonna throw manure on their face like Biff from Back to the Future.
That would be better than you.
And then laugh at it while you're smoking your cigarette. I can see your character smoking.
Dr. Evil.
there's also good a sibling rivalry there. There's a script that the sisters love and hate each other. That would probably be your vein of gold as well. People who want to get one up on each other. Like Lorenzo was saying, the sorority girls, the ones who want to one up each other for a man or for what position, whatever. Those type of roles.
She's a businesswoman, man.
We're gonna move real lastly to Elena. Elena, hi.
Hi.
All right. Go ahead.
I remember when I left. Wrong word. Can I start again?
Yes, go start again and go slowly, okay? Just breathe and go slowly.
Okay. I remember when I felt lonely, how I'd sit at the window looking through the glass at the night sky. I remember when my eyes met a star who soon became a dear friend whom I'd always meet at night, a dear friend whom I'd always share my dreams with. My dear friend wasn't talking back, or that's what I thought, until the darkness around me swallowed me, turning my flames into a deep sea that I was sunk into. From the deepest of the deep depths, I saw my friend shining despite the darkness of the night surrounding them. My friend has shown me that despite the darkness around you, you can still shine. I remember in that moment, my heartbeat was racing. Because of my friend, I too shine bright. The darkness around can't devour me again.
Great. All right, guys.
Wow.
We're gonna go a little long, and I apologize, but I wanted to get everybody in because you all are great. Okay.
Romantic, very romantic.
Poetic. I love it.
Deep.
Thank you.
Very deep.
A character in isolation. I got a sense of the Diary of Anne Frank. Someone who's not afraid of her own darkness and loneliness, and it's disconcerting to her, but she's not afraid to write about it and admit it. Like there's a very powerful admission. Okay, who else? Give her feedback.
Finding a silver lining.
Yes.
Very passionate.
And in the darkness, the stars shine brightest.
Very strong solitude. Like you may be alone, but there's no loneliness here. You have a very strong sense of self.
Finding connections, personifying things, or finding ways to be connected.
Yeah, I saw like deep despair and searching for something to look towards that will shine so bright that the despair will just, go, because the light will shine towards you and you'll be able to
Yes.
capture.
I also see a young adult with an old soul.
Yes.
A guiding light, like a spiritual quest, a light at the end of the tunnel type of, I wouldn't necessarily say depression, but loneliness, isolation. That's different than depression. That's a different energy. And it's like a girl who, or a woman who has to find her way to get out of her loneliness, and imaginary friends. Even there might be like a strong pull in you to imaginary friends or spiritual light or that type of energy, a quest, a loner's quest, an internal quest, but it's like it's guided from like above, or a star, or some kind of spiritual, for lack of better words, spiritual quest or journey. Okay, does
Yes.
does that resonate?
Yes.
Okay, now everybody, thank you so much for hanging on and doing this work that we did this week. I hope you all were able to see your vein of gold, because when you watch this, you are actually going to, when you look back at your story, look at that for your vein of gold, because that is your vein of gold. Your story that you told, every single one of you, is your vein of gold, okay? And if you look back at your childhood book and your films, I'll go back to that, you see this week if they do not resonate even stronger, okay? Because remember, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for things that resonate with you very strongly and things that you're passionate about. That is your vein of gold. Okay, now I'm going to give you your scene partners for next week. Actually, they're going to be for the next 2 weeks. And then I'm going to give you your homework. So here they are. It's going to be Jessica and Lorenzo. It's going to be Dan and Mary. It's going to be Rebecca and Ashley. And it's going to be Alex and Samantha. And it's going to be Sarah and Carol. And I need one person to volunteer to do one extra scene with Elena. Who would volunteer to do one extra scene? Sarah? Okay. So Sarah and Elena, you guys are going to be together, okay? And so what I want you guys to do, this is going to be a lot of fun and a challenge, but you're actually going to create a 2-character scene from your I remember. Okay, now it's going to be 2 characters. Now here's the stipulation. It has to be set in a real place, and you have to be able to perform it here in the class. Okay, does that make sense? Like you can't, I don't want it to be an action adventure thing where you're running around the camera. I want it to be dialogue driven, but I want it to have specific characters from your life.
So
Okay?
which one is writing the scene?
Both. You're writing a scene from, okay, I'll give you an example. Jessica and Lorenzo. Jessica, you will write an I remember, and it will include a character that Lorenzo can play. Lorenzo, you will write an I remember that you and Jessica can play. So does that make sense?
So each person will do 2 scenes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And is this something you want us to memorize or just do what we've been doing?
No, I want you to do what you've been doing, because I'm not interested in your memorizing skills. I'm not interested really in your quote unquote acting skills for this type of exercise. I'm interested in your story and your vein of gold. Now, here's the stipulation. I want you guys all to keep in mind the other person's vein of gold. Okay? So when you're writing your scene and you're pulling from your own memory, keep in mind your scene partner and their vein of gold. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, so if you have a scene that's, you guys know what I'm talking about. You want to keep in mind the other person that you're playing with. So I want you to write your scene with the other actor in mind. So you're writing not only for yourself, but you're writing for another actor as well. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, how do we get this to them?
You guys all have each other's, you guys are all friends on Facebook in the group. You guys can all email each other, call each other. You guys, if you want to get together and write together, you can do it. If you want to write on your own and do it, you can. If you want to get together and work your scene, you can do it. But I want you guys, everyone is going to be in 2 scenes next week. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yes, Jessica?
For how long do you think these scenes should be?
I think there should be 2 minutes. I think there should be 2 minutes, just 2 minutes of dialogue.
Do you want me to write 2 or should I just perform with Elena?
I want you to, hold on one second. I want you and Carol to do what I just told, but Elena, I want you to just write a scene that Sarah can act in. Does that make sense? Okay. You guys are gonna have some great scenes. I can tell already. Y'all's veins of gold are so strong. Any questions?
It's just recreating the I remember, right?
No, you can write something new. It doesn't have to be, I remember that you did. It can be a new one. It can be, I mean, at this point, if you guys have been writing them, I mean, you guys can start an I remember that you've never written. You can do an I remember, let's say that it's Lorenzo and Jessica. You know, Lorenzo can write one about, let's say he's never officially written one about his mother. Well, he could write one and have Jessica be in it or whatever, or his sister or his scene partner that he got in a fight with in acting class. You know, you guys are just using the other person as your as the person that's in your story, and you want to write something that they can play. Does that make sense?
But it should be real.
It
should be real.
I absolutely would love it to be real.
Okay.
I love fiction. I love fiction, but I don't think fiction serves for what we're doing here. I like realness. What?
I've got real stories.
I know you do. You all do. You all have great stories. Okay, guys, we've went 15 minutes over. I apologize in advance. I apologize, but thank you guys so much. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Okay.
Thank you. It was fun, guys. We'll talk, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jessica.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Elena.
Bye.